I'd like to call to order the Shakopee School Board regular business meeting for April 22nd, 2024. Tiffany, can you please do the roll?
Valdez.
Here.
Earlke.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Aldrich.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Mohammed. Michelle.
Here.
Aditya.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. We've got a full house tonight. It's great to see. Next up on our agenda is our Saber Pride portion of the evening. And item 3.1 is Volunteer Appreciation Week. Here to present, we have Lisa Ron, Director of Community Education, and Melissa Sabinski, Volunteer Coordinator. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairmember Smith and the board. We appreciate the opportunity to come here and present to you. The volunteers of Shakopee Schools are simply amazing. Our pool of volunteers consists of parents, guardians, grandparents, friends, community members, and even people from surrounding communities. It's not unusual to receive a phone call from someone that has a connection to our schools, that is just retired or is looking for something to do and wants to know if we can use them in our schools. The response is always yes, 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 we can, and we'd be happy to have you help. Our volunteers help with field trips, class parties, prep work, such as cutting, stapling, laminating, sorting, and also work directly with students with math, reading, and school projects. They help with PTO events, school fundraisers, and so much more. Volunteers can be found in workrooms, classrooms, lunchrooms, at recess, PTO meetings, and anywhere else that help is needed. There are over 2,000 approved volunteers in the district. Collectively, they have volunteered over 7,000 hours so far this year, and with our busiest 7 weeks still to come. Last week alone, 57 people gave almost 300 hours of their time. We're incredibly grateful for all the volunteers who've given their time and energy and talents, and tonight we honor a group of volunteers that have gone above and beyond in their commitment to Shakopee Schools. They have shown a commitment to positive change in the schools through exemplary leadership, creativity, cooperation, and hard work. And so Melissa Sabinski is our volunteer coordinator for the district, and she is going to present certificates of recognition to our volunteers. And volunteers, we ask that we're gonna have you stand up when you hear your school name, and then you can stay standing up. We'll hand you a certificate. And then in the end, we will have everyone gather for a large group picture. So, okay. And I'll be the runner, so.
Okay, all right, Sherry Bada.
And what school is this gonna be?
This is Eagle Creek.
Eagle Creek, okay. Sherry.
No.
Oh,
Of the whole school standard.
yeah, okay. And is Sherry here?
I'm gonna not go here. Christina Zander. Nicole Wilson.
Thank you.
All right, I think we might be missing one. So we'll go to the next school.
So should we applause by school or?
Becca Hannah. I don't see hers in here. So,
Okay, so, I'm gonna start
oh, you
reading
want
up
those
here.
read, okay.
Yeah,
All right, so Sherry Bada, Sherry always shows up with a smile on her face and is ready to help. Becca Hannah, we appreciate her attention to detail and making sure all the students stay warm. She helped go through the lost and found over the winter and made sure everyone had matching gloves and whatnot. Nicole Wilson, she's willing to do projects, work with kids, and this year lots and lots of cutting with the new math curriculum. We are very appreciative of her time and eagerness to help out. Christina Zander. The children love it when she comes in the classroom. We are fortunate to have a parent volunteer like her. These are quotes from the teachers and staff that have nominated them. Okay, Diane Bowen is a true superhero. There's more. Kim De La Cruz. Kim helps students get caught up on things they've missed as well as helps with fun things like classroom parties and planting seeds. Liz Johnson. Liz is encouraging and friendly to all and always has a smile on her face. Sonia Kilton. Sonia is always willing to drop everything and help out when it's needed. Marina Nazarenko. Marina takes the time to get to know the students and creates a bond that allows her to encourage them and help them grow. All right, from Red Oak Elementary, we have Janet Johnson. Red Oak would not be the same without her. Okay, and we have Nancy Mayhofer. The students love working with her because she is always ready to laugh and have fun while reading. Sunpath Elementary, we have Erin Bryan. Erin is easygoing leader that truly wants to make Sunpath shine. We also have Ann Jeffries. The staff appreciates her leadership, creativity, and tasty treats throughout the week. Sweeney Elementary, Mick and Marlis Hudson. No project is too big, no project is too small. They save staff many hours of time by doing the prep work so the teachers can focus on teaching. Mick and Marlis are always happy and enjoy talking with the staff that comes into the workroom or lounge every day. Erica Johnson. Erica makes kids feel good about what they can do and encourages them to take the next step and do more. Angela Remy. Without a doubt, Angela has helped the students progress in their learning this year, and they have enjoyed getting to engage with another positive role model. And Jessica Schmitz, also not here. Jessica makes sure that all PTO events have what they need to operate and helps wherever she can. East Middle School, we have Kim Graff, Meredith Jensen, Donna Richards, and Kathy Sather. These guys started up the PTO over at East Middle School. With the partnership of our PTO, we have been supporting our staff and students by continually raising funds throughout the year to establish a healthy foundation for East. And West Middle School, we have David Mahowald, Donna Mahowald, and Virginia Stedstall. I don't think any of them are here. They were all a big help on the choir field trip to the Twins game, and we could have not done it without them.
So I think, where do you want the picture?
You know what, we'll have our one in the middle.
We had it right here.
Perfect, we'll all
Let
go
us
around in
meet
the middle.
You can take it with you.
Nice little chat, yeah.
Sorry. Just try to hide that. Anyway. Did they tell you about this part? I see how they operate.
Got everyone? All right, we're gonna say savers on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Savers.
All right, let me just get another shot. One more. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Really appreciate it. And you're welcome to stay for as much support as you guys want. Don't feel like you have to. It might hurt Tiffany's feelings, but other than that, we'll be okay.
Just a little transition, Chair
Yeah.
Smith.
All right, so we're filtering in. So next on our agenda is item 3.2, the Rube Goldberg Project Spotlight. And they're all coming in right now. So with us to present is John Ullman, East Middle School teacher, Clayton Ellis, East Middle School principal, and Officer Cannon Christensen.
All right, so well, thanks for having us, guys. Yeah, I'm John Ullman. I'm a tech ed teacher at East Middle School, and I've been coaching the Rube Goldberg team there for 12 years now. And I've got my team with us. Would you guys stand up and introduce yourselves?
My name is Parker McBride. I'm in 7th grade and I've been on the team for 1 year. We are part of the attic team, so it's like the very top.
My name is Kieran Gill. I'm in 8th grade, and we are part of the kitchen group.
My name is Audrey Marsh. I'm part of the basement crew.
My name is Andy Gill. I'm in 7th grade and I'm part of the attic team.
I'm Katie Bell. I'm in the basement crew. I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Officer Cannon Christensen. I volunteer my time after my workday is done to help coach this team.
All right, if you're not familiar with what a Rube Goldberg machine is, we design a chain reaction of events every year. And our competition this year, every team had to put toothpaste onto a toothbrush as their last step. We're in competition with about 50 teams from around the world. We submitted our video on YouTube, which I guess we're going to show here in just a moment. You'll see, hopefully, some toothpaste land on a toothbrush.
He's a dentist, and he noticed that his friend over here wasn't able to brush his teeth every morning because his hands were full. He worked on a construction site. Of course he had a lot of stuff to do. So him and all of his teammates decided to work together to try to make a machine that would help him. But there's an issue to their plan. They did it in the middle of an active construction site.
So we were successful there, and we're still waiting on the judges' final results here on May 1st. Let's see, a big part of what we do is engineering, trying to problem solve, troubleshoot, work together. What you saw was our final success, but we had almost 60 attempts just to get to that final success. So we had to fail a lot of times. So perseverance is a big part of what our team is. So anything else to add, Cody?
No, I'm just incredible. It's love watching them fail and fail and fail and fail and keep changing it until they get it right. And then working with the next crew, it's all about, you can't just do yours, it has to work with the next team to make the whole system work in one full chain reaction.
And Audrey's gonna add a little bit.
Part of why everyone in our group decided to work together to try to make this machine was teamwork. We wanted to expand our horizons, open up a bunch of new opportunities, but also open the idea that anyone can do something great, whether it be putting toothpaste on a toothbrush to making a giant skyscraper. So we decided, as a team, we'd try to make it work. And look what we did. We made it work. If us, a group of kids, can put together a giant machine like that, what's stopping us from fixing our world? What's stopping us from making something beautiful?
In conclusion, our biggest challenge was definitely getting our power tools to work. We had 7 power tools in that chain reaction. The judges want to see really slow moving steps so that it's really easy to watch, but we found out quickly that turning on power tools is not slow at all. They take off pretty quickly, so that's probably the biggest challenge we came across. So anyways, thanks for having us here today.
Great job,
One of my favorite things to watch during the year is to come over and watch some of those trial runs. So it's very good.
Alright, Cannon, what's our picture word gonna be?
Room.
There we go. 1, 2, 3.
Room.
Thank you.
Great job, everybody. Thank you.
Well, next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got 2 sophomore.
Next on our agenda is item 3.3, the winter athletics presentation. We have Matt Hansen, our athletics director, with us, and members of the wrestling team.
All right, so I'm going to turn the first part over to our wrestling coach, Coach Van Kreblin. He's going to say a little bit about our wrestling team this year, and we'll give them their certificates.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex Van Kreblin. I just finished up my 3rd year here at Shakopee. I often say I feel extremely lucky to be here. Just the support that our program gets from the community and the school district's amazing. Had a great year, conference champs, section champs. Took 3rd in state, which was a great accomplishment, we believe, for our program. And outside of just the accolades, just a great group of young adults I get to work with every day. I know a lot. We had a state champ this year with Olivia, so we were really excited to have that, and we had a lot of state placers as well. But other than that, I feel really lucky to get to work with them every day. So that's my little spiel.
Underselling quite a bit. We had a fantastic year. To finish in 3rd place in the state is obviously pretty exceptional. So the group has grown. One of the highlights, at least for us, was I think we started the year, maybe we didn't end the year, but we started the year with 62 wrestlers, which was one of the high that, at least since I've been at Shakopee, that we have just a ton of participation. So Coach Van Kreblin and his big staff do a great job. It's always fun to represent not only throughout the year, but also down at the X. And I thought we did really well with our 3rd place finish. So congrats to you guys. And Olivia as our 3rd female state champion. So fantastic.
And I'll just add that I was there on behalf of the State High School League, and just amazing. Just to crown a champion, to put the medal on you, and give the trophy, the 3rd place trophy, to the rest of the team was incredible. And it's something that I will not forget as a board member at Shakopee.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure it's a great job, everybody.
Great job, great job.
All right, everyone. All right, coach.
You're in there.
Thanks, sir.
You're good. That works.
I don't want to.
You're good.
One more. Thank you.
Well done.
All right, and then the rest of the presentation is just about what we did as a winter season. So we put the co-ops together. We co-op with Burnsville for 2 of our sports. That's Nordic and Alpine ski. So in our Alpine skiing, we had 2 skiers. Pretty consistent numbers throughout our co-op. It hasn't been something that's really been growing. Raina Wicks has been consistently our best skier throughout this year. So that was our Alpine group. Our Nordic group on the other side has really pulled in quite a few of our cross-country athletes. And so we actually had 10 skiers this year. And that number has been growing, so it's fun to see. Unfortunately, just with where we're at right now, it's not something that we would be bringing to the board quite yet, but it's nice to see that we got up to 10 athletes for our Nordic ski team over at Burnsville. And then for gymnastics, this is a co-op with Eden Prairie, and we currently had 1 athlete who competed this year. She had a nice season, completed her career just a couple weeks ago down at at Prior Lake for their section meet. So those are our co-ops. And then our next group is our adaptive floor hockey group, and our adaptive floor hockey group is known as the Southern Stars. So they concluded their second season this winter. The team is made up of both students from Shakopee and Prior Lake. And so last year we talked about being the inaugural season, and there were so many firsts. This year we didn't maybe have as much success on the floor, but the way we look at this sport is it just gives our students another opportunity. And so this is what we did again. We had really good numbers. So it was really fun to watch them. They play at Shakopee on our auxiliary gym. They get an announcer and everything, so we try to make it a first-class operation. They did a really nice job again this year. Our dance team, Coach Sam Sarah coaches our dance team. We had a nice winter. The really tricky part about dance is we are very, very top-heavy in the conference. There's 3 or 4 schools that are just exceptional at dance. I think we're still on the rise. There's room for us to grow and improve, but we finished in 7th place in the South Suburban Conference and then 10th place in the section. This year we hosted an invitational tournament along with the Section 2AA championship. So it was a busy, busy year for us in the dance world. Next year we get to add 1 more. We are hosting the South Suburban Championships in December as well. So if you like dance, there'll be plenty of opportunities to come and watch in Shakopee next year. And then our boys swim and dive. So Coach Eric Hills has their boys swim and dive team. They finished 3 and 6. They were 7th place in the conference. A little bit of a rebuilding year, as the last couple of years we've lost some pretty quality swimmers. The team was led by Cale Fleming and Charlie Cutts. What Coach Hill said was we started a little bit slow, but we had several of our personal bests during the section meet, which is always great to have us swimming at the end really well. And he said that numbers have improved, so we look to have some success coming up here in the next few years. Our next group is our girls basketball team. So unfortunately, we usually come with maybe our record switched around, but we were 10 and 17 this year. We were 7th place in the conference. At one point, we had 4 starters out for an extended period of time. So it just made it for a little bit more of a challenging year for our basketball team. Ended up we lost 2 starters for the entire year within the first 2 weeks of the season. And I think that would have maybe changed our fate for most of the season. But we played Chaska in the first round of the playoffs. And so what comes with a really maybe tough type of a season, we ended, I felt like, on a pretty high note. Olivia Policki ended up getting her 1,000th point with the last shot made with just a few seconds left in the season. So she had 1,001 career points, which was pretty cool, and just kind of something where it was maybe not focused on all the injuries for the whole year. So that was cool to see that. And both Olivia Policki and Nicole Menke will go on to play college basketball next year. So it'll be fun to watch them in the future. And our boys basketball. So boys basketball had another just fantastic season. They were 23-6 overall. They tied for second place in the conference. They are in the 2 seed in the playoffs. They won the first 2 games at home and then headed over to dreaded Minnetonka for the final. And if anybody else was there, first of all, it was like the hottest gym in the history of high school sports. But it felt like about 105 in there at one point, but we were down early and down big. And what I was most proud of was the comeback. We took it all the way to overtime. Unfortunately, they had a team that was just a little bit better. They ended up going on to win the state tournament. So, you know, they were a quality team, and sometimes 2 teams play well and we were just not on the winning side of it. So, but we ended up getting second place in the section and had another fantastic year. 2 of our seniors, Jalen Langsey and Isaac Snell, both plan to go on to play next year in college. And they were fun to watch. Jalen Langsey at one point, there were a few games where, I mean, he's scoring 30 and 40 points and it just looked effortless if you were at any of our games. So it was pretty fun to watch him. But it was a good 1-2 punch with him and Isaac all year. So it'd be fun to see. They have a pretty young team overall, so it'd be good to see what, feel like we should be in maybe a similar situation next year, making a run again with Coach Dahman and his crew. So, and then girls hockey. So girls hockey started out very slow this year. We were, I think we were expecting to be maybe on the other end of things and playing a little bit better than our record indicated. About midway through the season, we started playing quite a bit better, ended up getting a 5 seed, and we played Prior Lake in the first round of the playoffs, which is always kind of fun, getting the rivals together. We had the lead going into the 3rd period, ended up giving up a couple goals, and then we weren't able to hold on. But as most of you know, our season was a little bit different this year with the loss of one of our student athletes. And so, you know, from that point on, I just feel like, and I even wrote it down because I didn't know if I'd get through this, but I think what impressed me the most was both our head coach and our staff and how we handled the situation all year. You know, with Michaela's passing, it just left such a significant void, you know, within our school and within our hockey community. It was just fun to see how they rallied to not only conclude the season, but I felt like it would have just honored her in a really, you know, positive way. But obviously, tough thing to go through all winter. So I was proud of our not only our student athletes, but also our coaching staff, so and our community as a whole. A lot of people rallied around us, which is very neat. So in a tough situation. And then last but not least was our boys hockey team, and kind of saved them for last because they had another banner year, and it was fun to watch them. We've seen kind of a steady improvement in the 6 years that Calvin's been our coach. So not that it matters a whole lot, but you know, we were 21-5-1, which is again the most wins at AA. We won our first conference championship in hockey, which is something that wasn't something we were talking about many years ago. So it was really, really neat to see that. We got the 3 seed, ended up beating Prior Lake, so we kind of did the opposite to them for girls with boys, and we won our first round in the playoffs, and then we played what ended up being Chanhassen in the 2nd round, and they ended up having a really nice run and finishing 2nd in state, but we played them all the way down to the wire. So it was a really fun game. Our boys hung in there the whole time. So again, I feel like I've said this the last couple of years with this group, but the future just continues to look brighter and brighter for our boys hockey team. So it's really nice to see. We had a couple maybe standouts this year that need to be mentioned. One is junior Cooper Simpson, and then sophomores Cooper Siegert and Carson Steinoff. Those guys on the offensive side were pretty dynamic. And then if you went to any of our games, the reason we won was because our goalie was absolutely outstanding, and that was Alexi Houston. He's going to be a senior, so that'll probably be our biggest void to fill next year. But again, they had a great year. It was fun to watch them. Look for big things next year. And I think I've mentioned it a couple of times, but the last thing I had was we are hosting Hockey Day Minnesota next year. So it should be the end of January, and both our boys and girls will be participating in that. So it should be a really fun event that we'll be able to bring to the community. So, questions at all? Fast and Furious.
I love the play-by-play style you kind of do. It just,
Yeah.
it's a nice, really flows well.
It's because
You've got like another career ahead of you.
Yeah, maybe. nobody wants to hear me talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is item 4, the consideration of the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Brophy and a second by Aldrich. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is item 5, public comment. This is the time where members of the public can participate in the meeting without being part of the meeting agenda. A member of the public may address the board on an agenda topic or on another topic. We allocate a total of 15 minutes for public comment at this meeting. Each individual speaker may speak for up to 2.5 minutes. The sign up for public comment has been conducted online and in person prior to this evening's meeting. Requests are not processed on an overall first come, first served basis. There's an element of first come, first served representing a specific viewpoint on a particular topic. If more than 6 speakers sign up for public comment, topics and speakers will be prioritized. Topics on this evening's agenda take priority over those topics not on the agenda. Speakers living within the school district take priority over those from outside the district. When speakers plan to share differing perspectives on the same topic, an effort is made to balance the quantity of speakers on each side of the topic. Public comment is conducted in accordance with School Board Policy 206, which can be found on the school district website. Persons who wish to address the school board during public comment must sign up prior to the start of the school board meeting and should provide their name and the subject to which comments pertain. Only those persons who have been recognized by the board chair will be allowed to speak during public comment or at any time during the school board meeting for that matter. No personal attacks will be allowed on any district employee, including school board members. As a reminder, school board members will typically only listen and not interact in any way with the public comment speaker. The board may, at its discretion, ask questions for clarification of an issue. We have one person signed up to speak tonight, and that is Jane Roshold. Welcome.
All right, my name is Jane Marshall, and I am a first grade teacher. I in Shakopee for the past 20 years. This year I taught second grade. I'm just here to speak from the front lines, and I want to tell you about literacy in our district. I am a trained teacher in the scientific reading instruction, and I finished letters training a year ago. I'm here to tell you why the change in reading instruction in Shakopee is a necessity. Shakopee's literacy model is currently a balanced literacy approach, and this practice includes context clues, guessing words in text, as well as a 3 cueing system. This practice of reading instruction includes a benchmark assessment system, level literacy intervention, DRA, whole language practices. These are methods of reading instruction that have been proven ineffective, and the elementary MTSS data that I see over the past few years shows reading instruction isn't effective for everyone, and balanced literacy practices must be unlearned in Shakopee. Many schools in Minnesota are recognizing that we need the scientific reading instruction. It is not a part of reading words. It is not a pendulum swing. This is a research that benefits all kids. It is the most essential for all readers because they can learn the decoding skills and strategies that would necessarily bring them to deepen their vocabulary recognition and their comprehension. It is really appalling that even with the decades of scientific research and evidence that many districts are continuing to allow a blatant disregard of the scientific evidence behind this. Don't hold back this potential for significant change with these powerful developments in literacy and language acquisition. The current ignorance around our state is impacting upon potentials of many hundreds of thousands of children, and teachers in school right here in Shakopee is happening as well. There are evidence-based practices, and they have the potential for remarkable improvements in our curriculum and our classroom practices. In the year of 2023, the READ Act passed in the state of Minnesota, which is a huge step forward. It is incredible. But unfortunately, many of my colleagues, people I work with daily, don't know anything about this READ Act. They don't know it exists. They don't even know that things are changing. And our district isn't telling us enough about the potential of those effective practices. Shakopee didn't tell me about letters training. I had to find out on my own. They have not told us why we need this training, and many of my colleagues don't know why we need to be trained in a different way. I'm here to ask you to just fully change the way you communicate how literacy and how reading is taught in Shakopee. There needs to be a reform. and the basic foundational reading skills in Shakopee need to be taught better. Make this happen, communicate it to teachers, and as soon as possible, because every minute we wait, we're losing more of the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda this evening is item 6, the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Brophy and a second by Valdez. Any discussion?
I just want to call out one thing, the donations, just to thank all of those individuals who generously have given to our district since our last board meeting where we talked about donations. So there's some that are listed there that are of pretty significant dollar amounts, and so I just want to thank them for everything that they're doing for our district, to support our district.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
And Mr. Chair, just to echo the request for some of these field trips has to do with, I think, some success in our activities area. I think we had a presentation on our culinary team. It's been doing really well. So it's good to see, some of that will continue.
See no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is item 7.1, the consideration to approve boys basketball. And with us to present once again is Matt Hansen, our athletics director. What did I say? I said basketball. I apologize. Consideration to approve boys volleyball. Thank you for the correction.
Now, if that's all right.
Thank you.
All right. So tonight, I am here on behalf, obviously, of our school community and as a member, obviously, of the high school league with the role that I play. But we are asking that the board adopts boys volleyball as a sport for the 2024-25 season. This would be a full sanction of boys volleyball. Shakopee has been very involved in the development and growth of boys volleyball in Minnesota. And as a new sport offering within the high school league. Boys volleyball was approved by the Minnesota State High School League as an emerging sport for this current season, the 2023-24 school year, and as a fully sanctioned high school league sport next year in 24-25. This is a spring sport, so it would occur 1 year from now. We would be starting the season in 24-25. The public schools have met all the conditions for participation. We are still within compliance with Title IX. We ran our compliance. We are still within Title IX compliance there. And then just on a side note, you'll see the $2 amounts, the $36,513 would be the estimated cost for next year. And they're about 12,000 more, and that's simply because once you come in, there's that one-time fees of, some uniforms, equipment of that nature that we wouldn't be taking over year by year. And then once they would get into a cycle, so that second cost, that 24,713, that would be the years going forward. And then some of their costs would be absorbed, whether it be equipment, uniforms, that would all be absorbed in the costs that we currently have. And we just have to maneuver some money around, but things that we can do pretty efficiently. As far as this year we currently have 47 players that are on our teams. We have 4 teams. We also have 2 managers. We have a couple with us as well, but we have our coaches who have helped not only this year, but along the way. And as you can see, we have a very big Shakopee flair. So whether it be past players or past coaches that have been helping so far. And I think the thing to note this year and in every year up to this point is you see that our participation, we are 65% students of color that play volleyball. We also have just about 94% of our students that are not in another spring sport. and we have about 86% that have never played a spring sport. So when we talk about our values in Shakopee, where we want an activity for every student and a student in every activity, this would be opportunities for us to gain quite a few more students in there. So I can pause for a moment and take questions, or if you have anything else, but I would like to recognize, as we are kind of talking through this, there's 3 people that are sitting just to my left who have been instrumental in getting volleyball up to this point, and John Jenke, Krista Fleming, and Jenny Kilkelly. And they've brought from the inception in 2018 to where we're at right now. And so we wouldn't even be here without the work that they've done, so.
I think this is long overdue. I mean, we know that it was a little bit of a hurdle at the State High School League to get this across the finish line, but here we are today, and it's really something that started right here in our facilities and with people in our community, and I just think that it's fantastic when you look at the numbers and see the number of kids that are participating in something that they've never participated in a sport before. Is just incredible, and that's kudos to all the work that you did, because if it wouldn't have been for your work, those kids still would be looking for a place to find themselves.
Well said. And my neighbor's son is one of those kids, so I better vote carefully.
Yeah, I can't follow that,
Well, I'll make a motion to approve boys volleyball for Shakopee schools starting in the spring of 2025.
Second.
We have a motion by Peterson, a second by Brophy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Come on, John.
Yeah, John, you're in this too. So what's your next endeavor? That one went pretty smoothly.
Thank you guys for everything.
Quite impressive, 47 players.
Okay, but everybody, yeah.
And they're not drawing talent from other activities.
Thank you to all of you, everybody.
Shakopee has been so amazing to help us, Mr. Redmond, Christy, Matt, everybody. We've been just down to everything that's happened inside the walls of the gyms and all the different things. It's been an amazing piece, and without, especially Matt and Mike, we wouldn't be here in Minnesota, because they were a part of the Minnesota state stuff that we worked up to.
Well, you guys have done great work, and it's not just on behalf of Shakopee kids, but kids across the state, so well done.
Next on our agenda is a series of information items, starting with item 8.1, the community conversation and survey plan. And with us to present is Tiffany Olson, Director of Communications and Strategic Development.
Musical chairs, great to see you all again. So this is a brief update that does follow your winter leadership development, where we discussed again how we can continue to make sure that we have community voice, and we're constantly measuring the longitudinal data, the performance, and things that are important to the vision and priorities. So very briefly today, a very short amount of time, just kind of remind you where we've been with community conversations and quote-unquote surveys, the intent and goals of what we have for this year, which would be May 2024, for a community conversation and survey, the platform we're using, and then just the next steps on there. So again, why host a community conversation? I mentioned it briefly when I just spoke here, but we want to ensure, especially that, open conversation. We also want to make sure it's equitable in terms of how folks get provided. So I'll talk about the platform briefly, but we've made some advancements. Trust is obviously extremely important to continue that and ensure there's open lines of communication, and then also help us to find, areas of growth, and then look to polls that are out there on local public schools and how we measure up to have some outside information on that as well. Survey history is up here. I won't go through it in depth. There's some reminders of the impact of COVID-19 and how that impacted the consistency of our community conversations and surveys, and also the various touch points into how we did that. You'll see last year we used Thought Exchange, and coming up, you'll see the recommendation and information is that we'll be using that again rather than the other mediums that are on there, and I'll share why in 1 second. The timeline is listed here. You can see that over the winter here and what's turning into spring, we've done some research, prep, and internal alignment. There's been various stakeholders from principals to directors and various other leaders to look at the questions we have, provide feedback on timing, platform, really open conversation. You'll see the actual timeline there, which is May 1st through May 24th. And then you can see following that, reviewing the results internally, and then also sharing that publicly in a school board meeting are slated on this timeline as well. When it comes to audience, this is just a reminder when we do have this community conversation, it is really for our entire district. Obviously, if we were to do a student-specific survey, or let's say a staff-specific survey, which there are various opportunities to do that, and they are done at the building level, at various spots. That is not what this is, but it doesn't mean that those individuals can't participate. It's just questions are geared to our entire school community and taxpayers as a whole. As mentioned earlier, we used Thought Exchange last year. That is the first year that we test drove that, and really what I can say, if you don't recall the familiarity of that, it's a new online platform, and the great part is the amount of languages that it's available in. It's 80 plus, and also the platform and the ease of use, and the fact that it allows an open-ended question, and then folks can actually rate the thoughts of their peers and see that. So the transparency, they don't have to wait for results on that open-ended question. We have that fully out there. There's obviously some minor controls to make sure profanity and things of that nature aren't out there, but other than that, there's no control of the conversation. It's people being able to see what others are sharing and rate their thoughts similar or different to that. And then also 20 close-ended survey questions. Those would be your traditional, and we have longitudinal data that is being measured in that. So there's items such as school board performance, superintendent, financial management, quality of teachers, instruction, and various other things you've seen over the years. I won't read through all of this, but it is a summary of how this survey would be communicated from an exposure standpoint. And on the right side, it's specifically ways that we want to ensure that this is not just for those folks that are savvy digitally or have English as their first language. We really want to ensure that this opportunity is open to all. And we're very happy to be working with our CFLs and other groups to talk about ways we can facilitate this in a meaningful way with our entire school community. This is a reminder of what we want to do with the data. You've seen all these presentations over the course of this school year, and the compelling vision continues to drive all of these measurement tools that we have here. We want to make sure we're improving our systems and structures, our instructional leadership, and obviously the board has their vision and priorities that are driving that as well. So again, this community conversation is meant to be an additional tool amongst many other items to do that. So I went through that pretty quickly, but just want to make sure you feel comfortable and I can answer any questions. Otherwise, as we continue on in what's left of April, we would formalize the items you see on here, and then May 1st we would go forth with launching that to our greater community. And there have been some teasers along the way, and printed newsletters, e-newsletters, things going home with families, so that hopefully we can get maximum engagement. Questions that I can answer?
I really thought that the last one was well done. Like I said, the one open-ended question, the comments, you kind of just knowing how online communities are, sometimes you kind of worry about what you might get, but I was really impressed by the quality of answers and especially the rating system that allowed the really well-regarded answers to rise up. I thought that was very helpful.
I'm really excited to see it again. I spent a lot of time
refreshing to see all the responses, so.
And I think the great part is the back end of that tool is really good. It shows polar viewpoints. It'll digest data in a way that really helps us understand what's important to our community.
Mr. Chair, if I may, so Tiffany, slight modifications to some of those questions. Would you say they're still, comparable in terms of doing analysis against prior surveys, or do you even think there's a strong correlation there? Maybe we're going to learn something new as a result of that.
Yeah, I mean, the margin of error of a statistically sound survey was conducted previously by Baker Tilly. Last year we added something that was different than that. So longitudinally, we have to compare and contrast a little bit differently. But really, we should be able to have our baseline data from Thought Exchange last year, and then we have that longitudinal to at least reference. But by using Thought Exchange for a second year, it's really going to be apples to apples in terms of the method. And then we did make some slight adjustments to really make sure that it was clear that a community member and a family member could respond, and that there weren't any responses that were getting the whole voice out of those 20 questions.
So really more complete data as opposed to changing questions.
That is the goal, correct,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is item 8.2, talent engagement. With us to present is Keith Gray, our Director of Human Resources. Welcome.
Good evening. So one of the, in terms of, if we slide down, I mean, these are some of our early entry kinds of things in branding on slides 1, 2, and 3. And so what's changed? I think most of you have seen your work environments change quite a bit in terms of how you obtain new employees for your organizations, and districts aren't any different on that. Mike, as we started talking about this in terms of talent engagement, one of the things that we created was a monthly meeting with all of our leaders in the district, from principals to administrative staff here at the DO, and also our equity team, in terms of what are some different ideas that we can kind of generate and create that would change the dynamics for the school district in terms of our ability to hire employees. But one of the things that's really, the question is what's really changed? And I think a lot of people have been studying this, there's scarcity of employees all over the place. One of the things I think has changed too is, I have on the list here, is speed of hiring. In the old dynamic, we would take our time, work through all the candidates, bring them in, have teams interview them. In today's world, if you take a week and 2 weeks, those candidates that you were trying to hire are gone. So everybody's tried to figure out a way to be faster, quicker, more nimble in terms of making those hiring decisions. The other thing, a lot of the candidates, if you've read articles about this, there are people who have just changed the new dynamic of what they're going to work, where they're going to work. Are they going to work online only? Have they picked up, we all know about social influencers. There are different kinds of jobs out there that never existed before. So a lot of people that would look at our jobs in the past are just not there looking anymore. I won't read all these, but I think another big one is people are needing economically full-time jobs now. A lot of our jobs are really part-time. Not only part year, but also people who might work 6 hours, 6.5 hours a day. And many people are finding that difficult to be able to, maintain that from an economic perspective with their families. So that's also been a challenge. One of the really interesting things is there are fewer students choosing education. I had a lot of conversations with universities this spring, and they're saying fewer and fewer students are actually wanting to become teachers. One of the statistics I found in 2021-22 school year, 9,373 students chose in the state of Minnesota teacher education, but probably the startling piece is only 2,486 actually completed the program. So even getting people to start the program is just one piece of the element. Getting them to complete the program is the other thing. So one of the things that we're doing here, you guys know about the Grow Your Own program. We've had presentations related to that. We need to recruit earlier, and one part of that recruitment is identifying people to get into the programs and to be able to be trained in that way. And we also, are looking at trying to increase the number of student teachers. We were talking about that this morning, and getting more of our staff interested in being supporting student teachers and being host teachers for those folks. We've also been participating in the expo that we have here in Shakopee in terms of kids coming around and asking about careers, and that's always fun, listening to what people want to think, they want to do. We've been spending some time talking to our students about, hey, have you thought about teaching, and the aspects of teaching that could really be both economically and rewarding in other kinds of ways in terms of working with young people and helping them find their journey. And we've been working with some of the universities. Minnesota State has, you get the mock interviews with students, so we've been participating in that. We've also looked at different tools to connect with prospective students. One of those I think I've got further down in here is Handshake, which is what a lot of universities use to communicate events with their students. If we look at the targeted recruitment, we've participated in some summer kinds of things. Mikasa, end of summer recruitment. We were down to Rhythm and the Rails. That's more visual, I think, because if you've ever been to those types of events, a lot of times people aren't all that interested in looking for a job, but we have made some connections. Some of these, and then I think are really significant, is we have a couple of staff members who are actually involved directly with Black Men Teach. And if you have been following the trend in terms of trying to get people to consider teaching, we really have a shortage of Black men in our teaching staff all over the state of Minnesota, and the value of having folks actively involved in teaching as a profession. We've also been reaching out to other organizations that have similar missions as ours to see if those folks know about some of our hourly jobs, some of our daycare providers. We've actually hired some folks who have been working at daycare providers around the city to think about our paraprofessional jobs, because the pay, I think, matches up fairly well, and I think sometimes we can win those particular situations. We did go to Shutterfly this year. Most of those folks were actually looking for similar kinds of jobs that they have at Shakopee, so I think we participated, but I don't know that we really landed anybody from those kinds of things. Talked to Valley Fair if there was some job sharing with those. They hire a lot of college students, so a lot of those folks are back at college when we're looking for folks. And we also are currently involved with St. Thomas with a student teaching partnership. System improvements, we've tried to reduce the complexity of applying. The applications can be very lengthy in terms of the time. We've tried to streamline that. We're still working on that. We have digitized our onboarding system so that people don't have to come in to meet with us. We can do so much of it over the internet. The other thing we have found is the quicker you get people to sign the dotted line, just like any kind of sales job, the quicker you get people to put their name on the line. So we've done that electronically versus have people do it with paper, and we've gotten a much quicker turnaround on that. We had dedicated, I guess one of the next things I talk about is we created a teacher interview question catalog. That's another tool that principals can use and go in there and look at those, and we really kind of streamlined that down to a smaller subset of questions. I think I talked about Handshake and new tools for recruiting. We also are really involved more deeply with LinkedIn, knowing that a lot of people are really engaged with LinkedIn. attracting and retain, I don't know if Ray's been in here talking about affinity groups for staff of color, but we've implemented those. We're finding our staff really interested and engaged in that activity, and that's another thing we can sell as we're recruiting. We've also been including health insurance with some of our building substitutes, which is a departure from typical. Most of the time subs don't have a lot in terms of health insurance and other kind of benefits, so we've tried to recruit people into our building sub positions, because that's also been one area where we've actually been able to find long-term substitutes for our positions when we have staff go out for long periods of time. We submitted a Come Teach in Minnesota grant. Don't have all the word on that and how we could obtain that, but I think we're gonna end up getting that. And we've offered flexible work options. We did have, I think you guys probably have heard about that, Minnesota, all the colleges and universities in Minnesota had a career fair that they ran for, I don't know, for as long as I've been in HR and school districts. This year they took a pause on that. We took an opportunity to say, hey, we understand you took a pause, we understand you're evaluating your commitment to this kind of thing. Would you guys support an alternate event? We did get agreement with them that they would advertise and support it. So we did hold that on April 1st. We had 164 or 5 students, and we had 56 school districts and schools, because we had some private schools in it, be part of that process. And Tiffany, you guys took a little bit of video there. You want to show a little bit of that? So we had a lot of people participated in getting this off the ground. Tiffany's team created a lot of communication, community ed, and Lisa's team, they helped us operationally put this thing together. A lot of my staff put a lot of time in on it. I think we got really positive feedback from the participants. We're still reaching out, yet to reach out to students about their experience. And I think one of the things we're really gonna try to figure out is an in-person job fair a viable option in the future? I think that's what the universities are evaluating right now, is it the commitment. Now, from the preliminary stuff we've got from the school district that participated, they prefer in-person to virtual. So that's kind of an interesting perspective. Personally, me too. I like person-to-person activity, but so we've done that. Will we do it next year? I think it depends on whether the universities do it, and I think some of the feedback that we get from both the students and just the participating school districts will determine how, where, what. We'd like to have had a lot more student involvement, but we had relatively short notice. We found out about mid-January that to do this, it's usually a year-long planning activity. So we were pleased that we got those students, but would obviously like more. New recruitment tools we talked about. We were part of this handshake. We're also looking at, some different kinds of things that we can do with LinkedIn. I know Life Touch has helped us create some advertisements that you're seeing out of the schools. We're also putting a lot more things out on social network. We're also putting things out on our newsletters in school. Then if I look outside the norm, this year we created something called a teacher bench. So we're exploring the concept of hiring people for jobs yet out there, but we anticipate coming. I think we have teachers. I think we have, is it 8, Jim? I think we have 8 on our.
We're down to 4.
4 now, so we've placed those. So we have 4 people on our bench. We're looking for more people to put on our bench for future openings that we know we'll get throughout the summer. And then I think, we also have had this card that if we see somebody good in a workplace that we think, hey, they might be really good in our staff, we're giving them this card to have them call one of our lines that's dedicated to this, and then my staff follow up with them and see what they'd like. I tend to see a lot of kids working in places, and I'm having a lot of college conversations. What do you think? What are you gonna do after when you graduate from high school? Or have you thought about being a teacher? Because I think we just have to kind of stoke that interest. Because we've increased in the number of building substitutes, a lot of those folks are turning into more permanent staff for us. So that's been a helpful thing. So we've had this situation where you're a building sub, then you're a long-term sub, and then people really, our principals really get a good look at them. And then the next year when we have an opening, they say, man, I really thought that person was terrific. I'm gonna hire them as a permanent sub. We've had a large number of those folks do that. And then a new concept we regionally came up with when we have a partial FTE for a position, we might be able to attract more people if we added like a part of a building sub to it. And right now at Sunpath, we have a PE position, which is 0.47, and we're filling it out with a 0.53 building sub. So just sort of how can we get people to really be attracted? We evaluated the overseas recruitment. It has a lot of involvement. We're looking primarily for special ed, and I think Julie's team sort of said it may be a little more involvement than we can support right now, but we still have some connections in that area. Then future directions, I'll pretty much let you review that because I know we need to finish the presentation, but we're looking at some different kinds of things what are some other things that we can do to kind of put Shakopee in a little better position to hire folks that where we have vacancies. So any questions you might have?
You mentioned like remote work from home. I'm assuming there's really not too many positions like that in our district, but
where that falls for us is more non-direct student connected positions for the most part, but that has helped us. I know, I think Bill will tell you that he's got some staff that are there because they have that option. We don't have people working exclusively from home, but we allow, 1, 2, on occasion 3 days, and then be able to be in the office just to be able to recruit some people that we might not otherwise be able to recruit.
So you don't really look at anybody outside the Twin Cities area? I mean, the assumption is they need to move.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
It would be an interesting concept, but I think a lot of staff, if you went in, like in the district office, for example, you'd say, we all were able to do what we could do remotely, but I'll use my staff as an example. They've got the option to work from home, but almost, as you would imagine, human resources like human contact. So most of my staff here every day. But I think most people value that interaction with team members, some part of the week, because it does have a lot of value, and you've kind of heard that, from our staff.
If I might add a couple of things. We have had situations, I think we had somebody in special ed finance, so it would have been a really hard to find position, who moved out of state and continued with us for a while that way. So we're open to those ideas. And then even, we added at the end of each quarter, we added a flexible grading day for our teachers where they don't have to be on site, they have to have the work done and the activities. So just trying to be open to where you can have flexibility. In a lot of those situations where you have it actually increases productivity too. But you're right. I mean, much of what we do, we serve others. It's a human endeavor. It's a relationship endeavor. Yeah, you have to be present to do it, exceptionally well in most situations. And then if I might add, the other thing I think that's happened, and I appreciate, there's a whole bunch of other things going on, and I think we used to think, well, hiring is that's HR's job. Well, they're gonna lead us in that, but hiring, retention, all these things that have to do with talent engagement, they're everybody's job. We have 1,000 employees on our team, we're all part of that. And then even some of the stuff, you kind of called it out, the shutterfly, examined it, didn't work. Great idea. And I think having that, with the board, we meet with the personnel committee and go, hey, we're gonna try this. We don't know if it's going to work or not. We appreciate that support. The college fair was another one where it's like, there's decisions and we're trying to, we're taking, not wild risk, but calculated risk. And the Valley Fair idea, thought it might have legs. They bring in a lot of overseas employees who kind of work May to October, thought maybe it could line up, and there's a variety of reasons, the type of visa and some of those things. And a lot of the folks are students who are going back overseas to school again. But we're willing to take a look at a lot of things, and I appreciate Keith and his team for their efforts in that regards.
I have a quick question. So, are you looking for teachers, or you want a substitute, or both, or when you look,
So what we found is after, I was talking to somebody today, during COVID, a lot of casual substitutes, people who just sort of choose to sub, that workplace, those folks went away to some extent, because if you remember how long we were remote, they didn't have any work to do because there wasn't much substitute, because most of our staff were teaching remotely with the sniffles or even COVID. Because a lot of people had COVID but weren't, negatively affected that significantly. So they were still teaching online. So that casual sub population went pretty much away. We have some casual subs. So we really shifted to building subs, people who were looking for work every school day. And we kind of relied heavily on that group. So we are continually recruiting. More likely, one of the things, if somebody says they come in and I want a sub, we immediately ask them, would you like to building sub? Because we're building up that pool for long-term substitutes, but we're also trying to build up that capacity to have every classroom full if a teacher is out, no matter what. So that we have really increased the number of folks in response to that absence rate, or when people are needing to be off. So that's we're continually doing that all the time. And so it's not really even stopped.
My other question is, what is the requirement for substitute N11s?
To be a sub, you need to have a long-term, or you need to have this license that you would go to MPE with. And so anybody who has a bachelor's degree could be a substitute teacher with this particular license.
Tier 1.
What?
Tier 1, right?
Yeah, it could be called a tier 1, but there's even a short call sub is what it's called.
Okay.
So in that one, you don't have to have any teacher training per se. You just have to have a subject matter expert area, which would be your bachelor's degree.
Okay.
Yeah, so we really went, I know when we had a team that we were meeting with during COVID, that we were talking a lot about, it was staff member, parents, community members, we were talking about, people could do that with a bachelor's. Because some people were saying, how could we help? Because we were having a hard time finding substitutes, and some people took us up on that. But yeah, it's a way to kind of get your foot in the door and understand really, and experience what's it like to it. Because some people are doing it late career or mid-career where they're saying, hey, I'd like to do something different. So it's an opportunity to sort of see, well, what's it like to be a teacher?
And also, thank you for sharing with us the creativity your department is doing is fantastic, because you try and even to make short with the interviews, and also the system to be friendly. Because I remember, when I also lying here, there was a assessment like 45 minutes. Ask questions. So all that things will be barrier. And also that system was made to the mainstream. Like the other people, they might become barrier. And then they might give up and say, gosh, I don't want it. Let me go. So we have to be, like you said, competitive and also try other things. Something will work, but I think you guys are doing amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking today with, about this, like, the state has a out-of-field permission. I'm a teacher, but there's an opening and I'm gonna use Julie's group SPED, and so we've been using a lot of out-of-field permissions, which allows somebody who's maybe an elementary teacher, be a special ed teacher for a year. Hopefully we get them in a program at that. And we're talking about how we've had a lot of amazing people who had a different degree, but have done amazing work in that area. So, I think from a statewide perspective, that's been good to have these out-of-field permissions. It would be awfully good if we could figure out how to turn that great experience and that great performance into a license that would make them not an out-of-field permission, but a licensed teacher. So I don't know. I'm going to follow up with Ellsby, and who manages our licensure, and find out is there a way to fast track folks? Because those people are really serving a lot of school districts right now in a lot of positive ways on these out-of-field permissions. So that's another way for people to get into. I started out as an elementary teacher, but I might be able to fill in another place.
I think one of the things, just to add quickly, was when you were talking about evaluating the overseas recruitment. I know Southwest Metro had their first group of teachers come in from, I can't remember where, it was the Philippines, I think.
Yeah.
But that'll be interesting to follow that and how that's worked. But you're right, I do know that for them, that was a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, things that they had to do, a lot of hoops they had to jump through to get them on board and get them here and get into the classroom. So, but it'll be interesting to follow that process to see how it all worked.
You are essentially, I think the biggest thing that you're essentially hosting somebody who's most likely not been in the United States, most likely hasn't taught in this particular culture. So there's a lot of support there, but I think a lot of school districts, like I know initial connection I had was South Dakota, I had some connection in Arizona. A lot of people are having success, but there is a lot of support. And I think when I was talking with Julie, it was, they have a three-person team sort of at that administrative level. Do we have the time to do all the things to be able to support folks? Because it's not just supporting them in teaching, it's supporting them in living, and transportation to and from work, and, just overall satisfaction being in a totally new environment. So, yeah, there's a lot to be learned, and that will be, you have that connection, Mike has that connection, I have a pretty close connection there too, to hear how their story, to still see how that went out. And I think that there are those issues that I just talked about, but I think they've been, they've had some success there, because they were really, I think they had 24 openings, I think, at one point in time. That's a lot. And they're not dealing with low incident cases, they're dealing with the tougher cases at Southwest Metro. Any other questions? Thanks a lot.
Keith.
Yep.
Next on our agenda is item 8.3, budget update. With us to present is Bill Manazzi, our Director of Finance. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Just a brief budget update for you this evening. On the screen, you will see the general fund budget update as of the end of March. So we are 3/4 of the way through fiscal year 2023-24. As a reminder, our fiscal year begins on July 1st and runs through June 30th. And this is the time of the year where we look at expenditures, and you'll notice that our expenditures in the current year, we have spent 66% of our general fund budget. And you may ask, we're 75% through the year, why have we not spent 75% of our budget? And the reason for that is, although our fiscal year runs from July to June, the majority of our employees, teachers, are paid September through August. So there's always going to be a lag time there regarding our expenses and when that catches up at the end of the year. So just by way of overview, you can see on the revenue side, we have a general fund revenue budget of $118.982 million, and we have collected 69.4% of our general fund revenue budget compared to 61.7% in the prior year and 72.6% in the second prior year. Only item of note on the revenue side is the local row, so local fees, interest, etc. You'll notice that our collections are significantly over budget. That row includes the sale of CFC, so roughly about $1.5 million from Central Family Center and the related sale of Central Family Center. So that is a good thing in the current year. And as I mentioned, as we talked about in the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting earlier this evening, our interest earnings are significant again this year, which is great. We are cautiously optimistic about what that looks like moving forward, and we'll budget accordingly when we talk about next year's budget. But our process is we do record interest earnings in the general fund, and then we get to the end of the year and we break out our interest earnings by cash balance to the other funds. So food service fund, community education fund, our debt service fund, we'll do that allocation at the end of the year. So if the interest earnings seem a little bit inflated at this point of the year, they are. We'll break that out after the end of the year on June 30th. On the expense side, our total expenditure budget is $118.85 million, and we have spent in the current year 66.1% compared to 65.45% in the prior year and 64.6% in the second prior year. Really the main driver, as is the case every year, of our expenditure budget is going to be the top two rows, so salary and wages and employee benefits. And you can see that we're tracking in both areas with the prior and second prior year. Now, we do have two contracts that are currently being negotiated, right? So we have some assumptions built in for those contracts, and assuming that the actual settlement comes in line with those assumptions, I wouldn't expect a large variance, but to the extent that it doesn't, we would need to revisit that at that time. And then there's it's a little bit cumbersome comparing to the prior year, because you'll recall in the second year of the previous contract, we had that delayed implementation of the model change for 10 of the last payrolls, right? So that was right about this time last year. And so you can expect to see the prior year wages and benefits sort of catch up over the last 10 payrolls here with that delayed model change in the prior year. So a few inconsistencies that make comparing to the prior year and the second prior year difficult, but I see no reason for alarm here as of the end of March. Looking at a couple other items I wanted to note, purchase services. We've spent about 79% compared to 62% last year. If you'll look two rows down, equipment, 64% this year compared to 86% last year. There's kind of a corresponding offset in some of our long-term facilities maintenance expenditures. Some of our expenses this year are falling more under the purchase service category, whereas last year they were more equipment related. And so sort of an offset with those two rows related to LTFM purchases. And then our supplies budget, we have spent about 90% of our supply budget this year compared to 70% last year. And again, not talking about a huge dollar amount, our supply budget in total is about $2.86 million. I looked and the main driver of that is timing on some of our maintenance supplies when we make that big maintenance supply budget expense, and so that's included in that 90% this year. So at the bottom, lastly, regarding fund balance, our assigned fund balance is projected to grow to $12.48 million at the end of this year, which, as previously mentioned, is about 10.5% within our fund balance, the school board fund balance policy of 8 to 12%. So that's what I have as of the end of March. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
He looks right at me.
Sorry, force of habit.
Well, I just love the fact that you anticipate all my questions and answer them. Wow. That's pretty good.
And just point of note, we did have the finance facilities meeting prior to this and unpacked that the local fees interest piece in more detail. So it was helpful to understand the nuances in there as well, including the sale of Safe City.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thanks for the transparency again, and thanks to your team as well.
Yeah, thank you. I'll pass it along.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is item 8.4, the second reading of policy, and School Board Director Chad Johnson will present.
Yeah, so this is our second reading of policy updates. So this is our opportunity to review these again. If you scan through each of these documents in the red line changes version, you'll see all of the proposed changes are highlighted. And as you're looking, I can give a quick summary of what each of these ones are. So the first one, dress code changes, it's removing some ambiguous language and just making clear that if the admin finds the dress is substantially disruptive is kind of the measure there. The next one has to do with changes to excused absences. So at admin's discretion, vacations with family or trips to schools or colleges may be excused, whereas previously they were considered unexcused. A lot of these two have to do with recent law changes. So the one 410, 12-week leave, there's no longer a requirement to work for the district at least 12 months and such. The drug, alcohol, and cannabis testing, all of that hinges off of and cannabis because of the law change there. The 506, really the only there's some changing from disabled students to students with a disability, and then the use of exclusionary practices for early learners is prohibited. And then the last one is a new policy to allow for the smudging practice.
Note this is an information portion tonight, so we're not voting tonight. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the second reading? Thank you, Chad.
Yep.
All right, now we have a series of action items. Next up is item 9.1, READ Act training. And with us to present is Dr. Rebbe.
Thank you. This one's very straightforward. You received a lot of information in last Friday's wrap, and this is just taking a look at our calendar. It's a small part of READ Act training and pieces, and kind of anticipating. There were two dates signaled, or kind of that came to the forefront. We do ACT testing at the high school. Thought those made logical dates to extend that, have no school K-12, and use those for professional learning at all levels, and focusing on the READ Act at the elementary. So I would happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I would ask you to approve that change to the calendar. The sooner we get it on the calendar, the better for people who are planning.
Is that really March 10th, 2028 or 2026?
Just what I was gonna say.
26.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't think we had approved the 28 calendar yet.
Yeah, whatever.
Trying to get an early jump on
Just
it.
a-
No. No, it's 6:26.
This makes complete sense. When you have a new act like this, the more training to get the teachers current is, I think, very much needed.
Yeah, and if I may, Mr. Chair, Dr. Redmond, you articulated it well. You know, part of the implementation of the READ Act is, it's right, new curriculum. And there are certainly some gaps. I'm sure my colleague, Kristen Peterson can speak to this too, having been through that capital last year. But there's already math curriculum that's being implemented, and that was already down the path. So a lot of this is just finding the right capacity to get to the implementation of the math, the changes in those standards in that new curriculum, before throwing on the READ Act, and even some of that curriculum is still under assessment in terms of what's considered accredited or acceptable under the READ Act. There's just a lot of moving parts. So I just wanted to call that out, why it seems like this is taking some time. We unpacked it at our district advisory committee as well. Because it seems like it's kind of in the future, or there hasn't been a lot of communication. It's just taking some time to put together those cohorts and do it correctly. So I'm certainly in favor of creating an avenue for this training. And that, Dr. Redmond, I would welcome any feedback you have on that.
Yeah. I mean, this to me is a simple step. It's one small part of a large puzzle.
It's a big puzzle. Yeah, that's exactly where I was going.
I do think too, just to piggyback off of what Tim said, that there are still a lot of moving parts. I know that the curriculum, the choices for districts of what they can choose from have just recently been approved by MD, but maybe it's been a while ago now, but.
Not all of them yet.
Oh, okay, well. But I think at some point here in the near future, whether maybe it's a summer item, that we talk about what is the implementation from a training perspective for all teachers, and because I know there's a lot of hours of training that's involved with this program. Obviously what we're gonna act on tonight is just one day, but I know there's many, many other hours. And we wanna make sure that our teachers are trained properly, accordingly, and can execute this new curriculum superbly for our kids.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Brophy and a second by Valdez. Any further discussion?
Are you making a motion to make sure the date is March 10th,
Yeah,
2026?
and point of note, the date should be March 10th, 2026.
That'll be the second date. So just to clarify, March 11, 2025, March 10, 2026.
Correct.
So we have a motion by Brophy and a second by Valdez on those updated dates. Thank you for clarifying. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next action item is item 9.2, formation of an outside space study group. And Superintendent Redmond will present on this one as well.
Yeah, a lot of folks have brought questions, questions or thoughts in terms of our outside spaces, our outside facilities, and even some of that, was brought to my attention and to our athletic director's attention, and even there was, believe it or not, some of miscommunication and probably overpromising from the previous administration back prior to the large construction project across the district and renovation at the high school, and some of that involved outdoor spaces. And so when sitting down with folks probably 2-3 months ago now, we thought, there's a lot of questions. They had a lot of really valid questions. Time to take a look at outside spaces. Part of the whole, we've done a really good job, I think, with our physical spaces in terms of buildings and, the HVAC systems and the roofs and everything else. But we want to form a study group that will get to work on that over the next, the coming months. Take a look at kind of an analysis of, the current outside spaces, how are they used? How are they functioning? Are they serving their purposes well? And then what are current improvement needs where, whether it's maintenance, whether it's, whatever it might be. And then some form of comparison with other school districts who've maybe done similar work or have looked at spaces and, how do we compare, how does that align? And then ultimately come out of that with a prioritized list of improvements to current spaces and some potential kind of future, future plans, future projects. And the thought being that they will certainly report back to the school board. This ultimately ends up being kind of an ad hoc committee at the, at the request of the superintendent via the school board, if you will. And we've got, Matt Hanson and Matt to co-chair it, and then the facilities person, Jamie Grossman, and we've got all three board members currently on the Finance and Facilities Committee. We were really only looking for two, but they thought that all three of them would be willing to serve earlier this evening. And then Ben Berry, or a designee from Old Architects. We've worked with Ben, many of you, on similar things. Very good at helping us organize, helping us look at things, ask the right questions, get actual, real data in terms of potential costs and kind of timelines, things like that. So just want seeking school board approval to begin this work. I've got a meeting tentatively on the schedule, I think the first week of May with Matt and Ed, and they would take the primary leadership of that, and certainly be in communication with the board and with district administration. Happy to answer questions, otherwise I would recommend approval.
I can make the motion to be approved.
We have a motion by Mohammed,
Second,
second by Aldrich. Any further discussion?
I think it's greatly needed.
All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is item 9.3. This is another action item to discuss the newspaper of record. And with us to present again is Tiffany Olson.
Right, so for this action item 9.3 on here, as you have heard in RAP and other conversations, Shakopee Valley News, which during your reorganization and development meeting that happens in January, per, I believe, statute would be that we have to assign a district newspaper of record, and Shakopee Valley News is that, given its reach, and as of April 27th, or I should say as of coming up on April 27th, that will be the last publication for Shakopee Valley News. So we no longer have an option that's dissolving both digitally and in print, as our surrounding Prior Lake American and some other newspapers that would potentially qualify in our district area. So what we have for an action item here would be the designation of the Sun, which is the Burnsville Eagan print edition, closest to our school district community, and also allows us to have our public notices on other required items published as our newspaper of record. So the consideration tonight and the recommendation for approval is to have that Burnsville Sun as the official newspaper of record, and that would start on May 1st, 2024, based upon when Shakopee Valley News is dissolving and no longer available. In addition, with that approval today too, should a new law be passed in Minnesota that allows Shakopee Public Schools or public school districts to post public notices on our website, then we would transition that so that we would no longer need an official newspaper, and that when that law, should that go into effect, the website would take place. So the recommendation is really to adjust our official newspaper of record to the Sun, but again, should anything change from a Minnesota law perspective, this would also be allowing us to transition to what would be online for our official public notices. And Dr. Redmond, if there's anything I missed on that, I know there's lots of conversations well beyond these walls on that topic, so I won't comment on that, but if anyone wants to add anything there.
I just say we're very appreciative of Representative Brad Tamke, who worked in partnership with the Minnesota School Board Associations and others, and there is actually language that currently designate Shakopee and 5 other school districts who are very similarly situated. That is part of the omnibus education bill. It was an amendment to that will now go to the conference committee with the Senate omnibus bill. And so that's really the reasoning behind why we have that. We need to, when you adopt a newspaper of record, it either needs to be located in the same county as you or a contiguous county. So we had some options there, but felt, as Tiffany said, proximity to the sun made the most sense, but also rather than, if the state law should change, this would allow us to immediately shift from, posting there to posting on the website, which I think is advantageous for all kinds of reasons. It saves us some money, but also I think the vast majority of people get our information off of our website. And I'm not sure how many regular readers we will have of the Sun living within our school district. So.
Can I just make one comment on this? Or maybe it's more of a suggestion that when, I'm optimistic, that this law goes into effect, hopefully by the end of May, that we have a very clear place on our website that is easy for people to find, that they can click one button and it takes them right there, right off the home page. We don't want people digging for it. We don't want to hide anything. We want it to be very prominent.
Absolutely.
I feel it should be very prominent.
Absolutely.
On the website.
Completely agree.
Absolutely.
The easier we can make it for people, the better. And having it in a paper that nobody probably receives in the district is not good, especially for transparency reasons.
So there's one newspaper in Scott County now, and that's New Prague.
Wow.
For the paper of record, do we need to coordinate with them, or is it just understood? Okay, so they're anticipating receiving our publications then going forward.
Some have already reached out. They've had some marketing campaigns as they're aware of.
This is fairly profitable for the local paper, judging by the amount of attention we've got in the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
Do we know where the county and the city will be going with their legal notices?
I've had some chats with both local districts and those folks, and they do not have a final decision to share, but I expect by the end of this week I would have their formal decisions as well. We've been trying to talk amongst ourselves to be consistent.
So, if I understand correctly, so Sun paper would replace the Valley News, and then we can get Sun paper at our home, right?
The distribution of Sun paper would not change from its present distribution, but given where it's located, it serves our statute requirements as far as our publishing or public notices.
Or it will not be the same?
And who we have for our official newspaper of record, which could be for other things aside from public notices as well.
Just it will satisfy
It
the
satisfies,
legality.
it's not.
The legality.
It's not the
Okay.
preferred option, but when there is no
Got it.
other option, that is the closest one.
No, it's good, yes.
Yeah.
And also, Eden Brady and Portersville, which one is close?
Pardon me?
Eden Brady, they have,
Eden Prairie doesn't have a paper anymore.
oh, they don't have?
They haven't had one for a couple of years. They were part of this conglomerate of papers. They closed a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Southwest News Media is the holder of most of these smaller cities publications. Shakopee Valley News happens to be ours, but there are others within that realm.
Very sad. Very sad, because these days the media is a very controversial, the nation's media. People rely on local news. And we don't have that. It's very, very sad. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second.
A motion by Brophy, a second by Mohammed. Any further discussion? See none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Our last action items, item 9.4, the addition of a temporary committee for constructive feedback And Dr. Redmond will present once again.
Tiffany, I'm gonna send you an email with this link.
Oh.
Okay, I think I failed to do that.
Not the one that says here.
Is that one?
Yep, it just says.
Oh, there we go.
underlined,
That's,
so, yeah.
I did that earlier when we walked through. I'm going, if it's not blue or it doesn't have a line under it, it can't possibly be a live link. All right, now I'm good, thank you. This is another committee. This one is temporary. I don't know if we've got the name exactly right. We kind of keep changing it, but trying to get a constructive feedback loop. You know, we've talked at the recent board development, other times taking a look at a possible renewal of the capital projects levy, more commonly known as a technology levy or a tech levy. And so we are, you know, we said, hey, we'll come back middle of April with a suggestion. This is that suggestion. This is very similar. It had a little different name of a committee that we had we had one in 2020 and one in 2021 when we were considering operating levies in each of those years. You know, there's some similarities with the capital projects levy, but there's some significant differences as well. But we've got kind of suggested dates of meetings, and the idea is to bring folks together, kind of share the different communications, get more eyes on them, get more constructive, critical feedback, and, you know, understanding and make sure that we're communicating well, consistently, clearly. And we've taken some of, you know, position-wise, some of the same folks. Again, it says suggested committee members kind of to begin and get things up and running. Some of these folks we would need to confirm their participation with. You'll notice when it comes to board members, we have the school board chair, and then we have the chair of the finance committee on previous versions of this. So we have asked Jeff Smith, Joe Aldridge to serve in those capacities. And then, you know, we've got our director of technology, we've got our director of finance, we've got our SEA, you know, president, we've got the superintendent, assistant superintendent, director of communications, and then we throw a secondary principal and an elementary principal into that mix. So happy to answer questions. Otherwise, I would ask you to please approve that. We'll get that up and running. And again, some of the dates may change. We just took a stab to try to get that, you know, started.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Motion by Valdez and a second by Mohammed. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That concludes our action items for the evening. Next up is item 10.1, district update. And once again, we have Dr. Redmond.
First of all, so I don't forget with this district update, thank you to Tiffany Olson and Amber Trudinick. They did the bulk of the work to get this looking nice and a lot of the information. But a lot of great things happening in our district. Our students, you know, led an annual Culture Fest. Most participants to date, great event on April 11th. A lot of guest performers, some really cool partners. It's fun. We're our, you know, lots of different students just sharing, you know, parts of who they are, and really, really a cool event. Another really cool event, and Tim and Joe, thank you for being there. Hopefully we didn't miss anybody else here, but our Takata Learning Center graduations, and they happen quarterly, and it's there, you know, there are a lot of different pathways to get to success. Again, you know, well, we saw, you know, other neat events today. You know, if you ever been to the state wrestling meet, it's really cool. I love the Rube Goldberg. Takata graduations are just heartwarming. They have, you know, the students share, individual teachers share personal, you know, remarks on behalf of each student. Really appreciative of our friends from Hart, John Russell. He writes a song for the graduates, and then he plays music at the start, and then he sings the song, and I'm always amazed at how talented he is. And Aaron Davich is there, and they've really developed a great friendship with Takata. But really proud of the students who graduated, and just it's a great event. We had lots of other things going on. We coordinated learning experience, our 9th grade academy, heading out on the, checking out post-secondary campuses. Passport to middle school, roughly 250 plus students last week. Students and their families participated in Passport to middle school, helping to share information and help people to feel more comfortable, students and parents and guardians, about that transition from 5th to 6th grade. Minnesota Literacy Day at the Capitol. Really, really cool event in terms of just sharing the urgency with doing better for kids in terms of literacy. And as a school district, as a state, we definitely all do need to do better. And so lots of, just a really, again, a lot of, a strong sense of support from a lot of different places. There were folks there, just regular folks, parents, kids, families. There were other legislators, folks that have been working on improving these things for a long time. So really good professional development last Friday across the district, highlighting some of the things they're working on. Saber of the Night. So hopefully found a cool way to say that, but I like saying Saber of the Night. There's got to be something there. But coming up May 16th, a Thursday evening, end of the year celebration. We've got the winners nominated by their peers, by staff across the district. All different, all different types of team members doing all kinds of different jobs. But great joy when you get to read the nominations and the comments that people are sharing, and really, really powerful feedback on just the many, many, many great things. We've got lots and lots of people doing in service to our students, their families, and our community. And so hope many of you can make it to that event on Thursday, May 16th. And again, I saw those. I thought that was pretty good. You get things, but Hart has been just an incredible partner with this. They've contributed, I think, $11,000 to this year's event to support it. And their reason why is just their deep level of appreciation and gratitude for all the things all of our team members do to support our community and make our community a better place. And so they usually thank us about 10, 12 times for taking their money and putting it towards this, and I've now just gotten to say, you're welcome. But we thank them over and over. They're just incredible partners, and it's an awesome way to say thank you to many of our team members. Student school board candidates. Hard to believe, Aditya. It's been almost 2 years.
It's come by so fast.
Yeah,
Honestly.
It's amazing. So we haven't figured out how to have a graduate school board member, but if we can, we'll keep you in mind. But we're looking at our sophomore class, and we've got a number of great candidates to interview next Tuesday, April 30th. And again, we've gotten into that cycle now where the idea is have a student come in as they start 11th grade and then serve as a student member of the school board for both 11th grade and 12th grade, because there's just like our other elected members of the school board, there's a lot to learn, and I'm hoping you're much more comfortable today than you were September of your junior year.
Oh, 1,000%.
That's awesome. A lot of great things happening with our Safe Schools, Safe Communities committee. Great work going on. They're going to do reunification training this summer, June 20th. But even more than that, you talk about developing systemic structures. This was one where there were a number of pretty decent things in place, and that number has just grown exponentially over the last year and a half, and just some really, really good things for just being prepared, all kinds of stuff, a gas leak, or, just a lot of different events. And we're looking after, you've got almost 8,000 students. We've got, about 1,000 employees. And in a lot of ways, we're kind of a small city. And so being prepared, being, ready to act for all kinds of different contingencies is always a good idea. So that is coming up, and that, well, how much planning can go into that? tons and tons and tons because it's something you want to do well and you're coordinating a lot of different resources. So I'm just blown away and incredibly thankful for, Tracy Cornea, Canna Christensen, and that entire committee and the great things they're doing, so. We held our systems and structures, our monthly systems and structures meeting last week over at Entrust, which, the more I get to know about Entrust, just an incredible global company headquartered in Shakopee. And the things they do, and basically they're the technology, they're the behind credit cards and the machines that make the credit cards and all kinds of other secure things, hard drives and stuff, and just fascinating. They're terrific academy champions and terrific partners of the district, and being able to work with them and go over and always think it's been good. This was one of those ideas that, we said, all right, we're taking the instructional leadership meetings out to the buildings, and that just makes sense. But we had a real purposeful effort of, hey, let's go visit some of our partners once a month. So I appreciate Tiffany does a lot of legwork on that. But you have a different experience when you go over and, Yannick and Jeff over at Entrust, they welcomed us. They share some remarks about what they're doing, but you get an actual chance to be in the space and get a sense for what they're doing, and even some of the stuff, Jeff Smolinski was talking about the design and even the color schemes there, and kind of coordinates the different parts of the buildings, and just, to learn about what they're doing is I love it, so. We've continued. Notice the red star on this earlier, that might be a new addition, but again, one of these, we said, we're gonna go on the road, we're gonna bring our folks, our teams from over here at the district office and go visit the different buildings, and so May 8th is our last one of those coming up, but again, it's, the more you get out, the more you learn about other folks and build connections, build relationships. I think the better we can serve people. And then we've got the Academies of Shakopee, a couple big events coming up. We've got the steering committee meeting on May 1. And then we also have a site visit from our sponsoring organization for Next Generation Learning, which is, so a lot of Academies of Shakopee focused work. It's always ongoing, but these are kind of big events to kind of get some feedback on where we've been and really, continue, but this is kind of a targeted date to really focus on pushing forward and doing things even better than we currently are. Recognition and gratitude. A lot of this time of year, we say thank you a lot, and it's always with great appreciation, but we've got Bus Driver Appreciation Day, Administrative Professionals Day, School Lunch Heroes Day, National Principals Day, Teacher Appreciation Week, School Nurses Day, lots of great events, great celebrating coming up, and thank you to all of those folks. That's it. That's all I got. So.
Thank you, Dr. Redmond. Next up is item 11, committee reports and other information. Let's start with Aditya tonight.
I don't have much to report today. One thing I do want to bring up is the Passport to Middle School event, which I went to. It was a really fun time. Being able to go back to the middle school that I went to, it was like nostalgic in a good way. Like, you brought up a lot of happy memories, and being able to help out the kids, even though I was just helping out the kids with their lunch number, it's like a daily occurrence for like 90% of the kids that go to the middle school, and it's a really good feeling to be able to help out with something that might seem small but can have a huge impact on it. The state speech tournament happened this weekend, both on Friday and Saturday. Was a huge success. We had a ton of people showing, competitors from all over the state showing up, and it was really fun to talk to them and hear about how their schools approach certain topics, and how for speech example, I talked to them about how their schools approaches speech and extracurricular activities, and it was really interesting to learn about the different situations other schools are in and how they're handled differently. It was really insightful. And competitive-wise, Shakopee had a really good time. We had 2 people make it to the state final round. Unfortunately, no state champions, but we made huge progress, and it's only going up from there.
Caroline?
Just like Aditya, I participated in the Passport to Middle School, and I went to West, and it was really a great event. I mean, this is my first time doing it, and just seeing these amazing students come in with their parents, just getting to connect with everyone was really cool to see. And then for the community engagement, you know, we talked about maybe having some talking points for the tax levy that's coming up that we're going to go out for. And then just also a snapshots of activities and opportunities that we want to participate in the community. And we are looking forward to having Mary Hernandez come next committee meeting to present. And then lastly, I'm part of the personnel committee. We're still doing ongoing negotiations, so we have a meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, a couple of things that was highlighted, participated in the TLC graduation. I promise Joe next time I won't wear a tie, because he always thinks.
Maybe I will next
Well,
time.
there you go.
Coordinate.
I'll let you know.
We'll coordinate, but, you know, as Dr. Redmond alluded to, just incredibly part of that experience. Very personal, very, very strong connections that those educators have with those students. And then I want to acknowledge some of my fellow district advisory committee participants, Nick and Khalil. Is it Zedek? I'm going to pronounce it incorrectly. But we were a part of Nancy Toole's last official district advisory committee meeting last Tuesday. We did new math, and I think we had fun doing new math. That's an extension what we discussed a little bit earlier tonight, having to do with the implementation of the cohort and rolling that out. Significant effort, significant amount of training has gone into that, but just a shout out to Nancy and Nick Asama and that team that did that. And then I did happen to be part of a witness of the Rube Goldberg experiment. So it was great to see John Oman present tonight with that team. That's all I have.
Just a couple of things, Southwest Metro related. Just want to share with everyone that Superintendent Darren Kermis has announced his retirement effective the end of the school year, which is June 30th. So the search committee has been formed. We are already meeting to determine what the next step is, job posting and that sort of thing. So we're hopeful that we could potentially have somebody by July 1st if everything goes smoothly, but yeah, we want to make sure we get the right person because we know that that position is a little bit unique compared to other school districts. There's 11 member school districts of Southwest Metro, and so a lot of different parties, a lot of different superintendents are involved, and so again, we're meeting every week. A survey is being conducted this week of staff, of stakeholders, of just to gather some feedback so we can put together a profile of what we would like our next superintendent to be, look like, characteristics, skills, that sort of thing. And then I just want to piggyback off of what Aditya said about state speech. I heard nothing. I was there end of the day on Friday and then all day Saturday, and I heard nothing but positive about our facilities, about the speech team, the coaches, the students that were volunteering to help with the event. Just everything went off without a hitch. It was just amazing. And one cool thing that I found kind of fascinating was after the third round, then everyone kind of congregates into the commons area in the high school, and they wait for the final results. And then a screen comes down out of the ceiling, and it starts showing some of the Shakopee events that are happening, and then all of a sudden, then there's the, here are the pairings or the listing for the finals, and the kids get they're screaming and yelling and cheering and hugging each other, and it is just, that was like the most amazing thing. And I'd never been to a speech tournament, to be honest, so I didn't know what to expect, and wow, I went to quite a few of the Shakopee kids rounds, and just some very, very talented talented kids. And I also, there were, I just want to give a shout out also to the parents of the Shakopee speech team, because they helped significantly with meals and providing food to the judges and staff that were working. So it was just very well done, and I highly recommend if you have some time next year. It will be back in Shakopee again at the high school. It's open to the public, and take some time, and it's just fascinating to watch these kids. That is one event I will sign up for again next year, because it was just awesome. That's it.
Mohammed?
What about you?
I'll go last.
Yes, okay, all right. All right, I spent my last 10 days of the Ramadan in Mecca and Medina and Jeddah. So there was like 8 million people this year. It was congested. Just 3 days I was in Mecca, and then I was present because you couldn't move, you couldn't. And then I left, went to Medina. Medina was much better. Medina is where the Prophet Muhammad died. That's his mosque, and then is another sacred site. And then I went to Jeddah, and then came back, and I was praying that I can go back to Shakopee, because my transit was in Jordan. Jordan is close to Gaza and Israel, and it's a war zone. Thanks God, nothing happened. And then I came back on Wednesday, and we had a big event, Eid event in the Shakopee High School. I was amazed, for the Shakopee police, and also the facility, and everything was great. And we used the auxiliary, the gym, so it was fit for everybody, and everybody was safe. And then that's all I have. And then I caught cold from there, because what are you expecting? 8 million people, and everybody wants to touch the black stone. And sometimes, if you try, people are pushing, and then if you fall, then you're gone, because 8 million people, if each of them tramples you, you can imagine. It's tough. And a friend of mine was with me, and then he said, "Do you want to try?" I said, "No. I don't want to. I want to be safe."
And you didn't go across from Dammam, the 15-mile bridge to Bahrain, where I lived for 3 years?
No,
You went to that part of Saudi Arabia?
Yeah. So that was a good experience.
Thank you. Chad?
So first up, I'm our liaison to Brightworks, which, to be honest, I did not know anything about prior to going to the annual meeting last week. So learned a lot about what they do. I don't know if everybody else is familiar, if I was the only one that didn't. So basically they're one of 9 service co-ops. They serve the metro area, and basically they're kind of in between basically they help metro school districts execute the stuff that MDE wants them to do. And then they also offer help. So like some of the high points that I took away from the meeting, they're working on a program for a supplemental mental health care for teachers. So like the mental health care that's available through the EAP programs, they're like at full capacity. And so they're trying to offer like kind of an in-between for, okay, if you can't access through your EAP and you don't want to go through your full insurance, they're creating this kind of in-between type program for more availability of services. One other cool thing they're doing is an apprenticeship program for special ed paras to become licensed. So that was really cool. And then they're also hiring a bunch of people because of the READ Act. I want to say like it's a pretty small org and they're hiring 20 people. So for READ Act planning and coordination of training and things like that. Yeah, so that was Brightworks. As far as policy, nothing outside of what we talked about tonight. And then community engagement. You forgot to talk about the food at the Culture Fest. That's the highlight.
It's not bad.
Yeah. I was happy they improved the way they had the line set up. It was a really, really long wait last year and we got through pretty quick this time around. So it's worth going for the food alone, but it's also really cool to see. I saw a lot of kids that I know participating in the performances. Michelle was one of them. She was in the fashion show. So that was really cool. And then Joe and I and Michelle were also at the Passports Middle School event. That was really fun to see. I would say most kids were excited. There was more, I would say there's
That's a lie.
More excitement than anxiety.
It seemed like the parents were much more excited than the kids. Some of the kids were just like.
It's a big transition.
That's it.
Yeah,
Nice segue.
You know, Principal Ellis put us all to work. Michelle, Chad, and I were handing out the actual passports and the map, and it was just a really good night. It's just a great way to get the kids into that school, and I think Principal Ellis said I think they're going to have a couple more opportunities between now and the start of the school year, and to allow those kids to get used to a new school that many times is a great idea, because I remember going to 7th grade. Small school to big school, it's like, wow. Takata graduation is always a highlight. It's so well done. The speeches that the teachers give to the graduates are very moving. And as I said, if we did that at graduation, it would last till Wednesday. But it's just a cool event. And we had the finance and facilities meeting prior to this meeting, talked about long-term LTFM stuff going up to the next 10 years, and a cash flow analysis which explained where our money is being invested in. Was the details was just great to see. And that's all I have.
Yeah, I was at the finance meeting tonight, and yeah, it was really nice to get that detailed breakdown. And the personnel SEA negotiations ongoing tomorrow night. I think since our last meeting, we had the scale event. So it was hosted by the Prior Lake Rotary, organized by Senator Pratt. We got to hear Secretary of State Simon speak about the challenges to elections and the impact of AI. That was kind of, I think, the main thrust of his speech. But I came away from the speech encouraged. You know, I think Minnesota does the elections really well, and I think we're right to be confident that they're on top of as much as they can be the potential threats out there. And so yeah, that was a good event. And then last Friday we had my wife and I attended the Never Shake event. It's the foundation created by the McNally family, who's Mr. McNally. That's how I know him, because he taught both of my kids as a teacher at the high school, and then his wife Crystal, who worked here in the district office. And it was just a great event. There's so many teachers there, and former assistant superintendent David Orlowski was there, chatted with him for a bit. But it was just a great event, and it was their first event like that, but I think first of many, and I think they're going to have a lot of great success. So, and we won the bid for pickleball lessons. So it was there you go. It was good for us. So, Dr. Redmond.
I've spoken enough already at this meeting.
Jim?
Only thing I would add is, we've had the good fortune of, our new secondary director of learning, teaching, and equity, Sarah Lernberg, has been in district. I think, Mr. Brophy and Aldridge both, met her at the TLC graduation, which we had an opportunity to attend, and we toured sites, et cetera. And she'll be in and out of the district from now until her start date. And then in addition to that, Sarah Moline, our new, early childhood, coordinator over at, Pearson Learning Center, was here last Wednesday for coffee with the superintendent, and she too will be in and out of the district as we try to get ready for some change on July 1st.
Tiffany? Keith?
I wanna know where I can buy one of those machines for my toothpaste.
$2,000. No.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You get a large amount too.
Next up on the agenda is item 12, upcoming meetings and important dates, and you can see on the screen there, the list gets longer every time we do these. I mean, that's the most I think I've ever seen on this.
Near the end of the school year.
Yeah, there's so many great things going on, so yeah, I'm not even gonna, people can read for themselves. Yeah, so we have SEA negotiations again tomorrow night, and then after this, we do have a closed session here, so hopefully everybody knows that, and I have the verbiage to read for that. So that will be the next thing. Is there any points anybody wants to make on the upcoming meetings and important dates with everything we got going on here? Okay. Then next is item 13.1, closed session. In accordance with Shakopee Public Schools Policy 205, the school board may, by a majority vote in a public meeting, decide to hold a closed meeting to consider strategy for labor negotiations, including negotiation strategies or developments or discussion and review of labor negotiation proposals conducted pursuant to Minnesota's Public Employment Labor Relations Act, Colorado. We will now seek a motion and a second for closing this evening's meeting.
Make a motion to close.
Second.
A motion by Aldrich and a second by Peterson. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Mr. Brophy, could you record the motion and the second and the votes?
I shall.